What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I try and help you guys keep on top of the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. For those of you watching for the first time, I work in China in an executive role, and part of my job requires that I follow the big macro developments coming out of China. So if that is something that you are interested in, and if you want to be as informed as my clients, maybe consider subscribing. For everyone else, I hope you're doing well. It's a midweek episode, a little bit shorter. We'll have the big one at the end of the week. This is a shorter episode. As always, guys, if you enjoy the episode, it's a massive help if you smash the like button. It's just down there. It's just a few inches down with the mouse. It makes a big difference for me as a small YouTube channel, though, because it tells the algorithm that this is legitimate content and not a bot from coming out of the mainland. For those of you who want to go the extra mile as well and help me keep this 100% subscriber supported, my Patreon details are in the description below. But with all that said, let's just jump into this week's China Update. On Monday, China's National Bureau of Statistics published the official economic data for the quarter July through September. China's economy officially grew 4.9% in the period compared with the same period last year. Peking University professor and foreign expert in finance and China's economy, Michael Pettis, shared his analysis of the latest economic data on Monday evening. Quote, GDP growth is up 4.9% for the quarter and 0.7% year to date. It was driven by a 6.9% acceleration in industrial production for the month of September and a 5.8% in quarter 3, adding to a 1.2% growth for the year to date. Retail sales were better than expected for the month, up 3.3%, but were only 0.9% for the quarter and are still down a whopping 7.2% for the year to date. Whether you look at the most recent month, the quarter, or the year to date, it is obvious that the recovery in production vastly exceeds the recovery in consumption, for which retail sales is a proxy. And, quote, another useful proxy in my mind is looking at holiday spending, because this is also a good reflection on household consumption and household confidence. Now, we covered this a few weeks back after the national holiday Golden Week, where spending was down approximately 30% compared to last year, according to a report published by a private Chinese media company, Taishan Media. Veteran China investment strategy Andy Rothman expressed his thoughts on Monday too, saying, quote, fears of catching the virus have depressed spending beyond the impact of slower income growth. Per capita disposable income rose 6.9% year on year in the third quarter, a big improvement from the 0.8% pace in Q1 2020, but still weak compared to the 8.8% a year ago. I expect China's economic activity to return to about 80% of normal by the end of this year, with the final 20% of the recovery unlikely until the development and widespread use of a safe and effective vaccine. End quote. There have been several Anglophone media reports from major outlets this week that have said something like China is the only engine of growth in the world currently. China is the largest and the only growth engine or engine of growth in the world economy at the moment. I would push back a little bit against this and say that growth is driven by demand or consumption. And unlike the United States, China is a net producer and exporter, not a net consumer. And while I am taking this opportunity to push back against statements that I've seen this week, Japan-based Nikkei Asia quoted an advisor to General Secretary Xi Jinping who said, quote, the Chinese economy will probably continue expanding at a roughly 5% annual clip over the next 15 years. End quote. I would argue that this statement is very optimistic. Western media is reporting that according to US officials, China has threatened to detain US citizens if the US continues with its plan to prosecute several arrested Chinese academics. In recent months, at least 5 PRC scholars have been arrested who US law enforcement alleges did not disclose their Chinese military, their People's Liberation Army military affiliations on US visa applications and might have been trying to conduct industrial espionage in US research centers. The Wall Street Journal initially broke the story, and this is how they worded the report. Quote, The Chinese officials have issued the warnings to US government representatives repeatedly and through multiple channels, the people said, including through the US embassy in Beijing. The Chinese message, the people said, has been blunt. The US should drop prosecutions of the Chinese scholars in American courts, or Americans in China might find themselves in violation of Chinese law. End quote. It wouldn't be a mischaracterization to say that the People's Republic of China has a long history of accusations of engaging in arbitrary arrests of citizens as well as foreigners in the mainland. On Monday, when asked about the Wall Street Journal report, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian told reporters, quote, "I noticed relevant reports. By alleging that foreign nationals are arbitrarily detained in China, the United States is acting as the guilty party, blaming the innocent. As a country with rule of law, China always protects the safety and lawful rights and interests of foreign nationals in China and encourages and supports normal exchange and cooperation between China and other countries. Foreign nationals in China, as long as they comply with Chinese laws and regulations, need not worry about safety. As a matter of fact, we have always worked to offer them every convenience for their life and work." End quote. On Monday, General Secretary Xi Jinping chaired a special Politburo study session on quantum science and technology. His speech suggests that the PRC will be likely pushing quantum science research and funding for the next 5-year plan, which will begin next year in terms of implementation. Quote, "The development of quantum science and technology is of great scientific significance and strategic value. It is a major disruptive technological innovation that impacts and restructures the traditional technological system and will lead a new round of science tech revolution and industrial transformation." End quote. Xi Jinping stressed that the government needed to provide more resources and a productive policy environment for quantum research. State-run Xinhua wrote, quote, "It is necessary to increase investment in scientific research institutions and universities in basic research of quantum science technology, strengthen coordinated construction of national strategic sci-tech forces, and improve management and organization mechanisms for scientific research." End quote. On Tuesday, a leading quantum scientist, Pan Jianwei, penned an article which was widely quoted in state media on Tuesday and Wednesday morning. Quote, "Quantum science and technology is a strategic field related to national security and high-quality development. We must hold its innovation and development firmly in our hands." End quote. On Tuesday, the Chinese Science and Technology Daily announced that China is building a massive national lab for quantum science and technology. Okay, this story. I was debating whether we should cover this, but I think we should. What started as a minor violent incident a few weeks ago, not worth discussing on here, has evolved into a cross-Taiwan Strait spat at a time of dangerously high tension in the relationship, as well as global attention on People's Republic of China diplomatic behavior. On October 8th, at a hotel in Suva, Fiji, which is in Polynesia, South Pacific for those who aren't sure, unofficial Taiwan officials, and I say unofficial here because Fiji does not officially recognize Taipei, but like many countries, hosts its representatives in an unofficial capacity in the country. Anyway, unofficial Taiwan officials were hosting a reception to celebrate its national day, that is the National Day of the Republic of China, as opposed to the People's Republic of China, which is on the 10th, 2 days after the event, before an audience of Fijian officials, scholars, and other guests. What happened next is disputed by Taiwan and the mainland, both making statements Monday of this week. According to the Taiwan side, a pair of PRC diplomats showed up at the reception uninvited and sought to photograph guests when Taiwan officials tried to block the Chinese diplomats. The PRC officials turned violent and hospitalized one of the Taiwan officials. The PRC side disputes this account. On Monday, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian said the Taiwan officials had acted quote-unquote provocatively, resulting in injury. He repeated the Fiji-based China embassy statement that the PRC diplomats were only carrying out their official duties in a public area. However, the event was hosted at a private hotel, and it seems very unlikely that the Taiwan side would have invited them. In a statement on Tuesday, the police in Fiji said the dispute was, quote, being handled at the diplomatic level as agreed by all parties involved, end quote, and as such they would drop the investigation. Regardless of which account is true, I think for many foreign policy makers around the world watching this, it looks like yet another example of poor PRC diplomatic behavior overseas. It has you can't even have a private reception at a hotel in Fiji without the CCP showing up feeling to it. Though these incidents are celebrated in the mainland, they are unnecessary PR mistakes that undermine PRC diplomacy at a time where they need it most. Indeed, some mainland analysts I read from this week defended the behavior as necessary due to the, quote, hostile international environment, end quote, that China now faces, without reflecting on whether this type of behavior is in part the very reason why China is now facing an increasingly hostile international environment. In the mainland, the story exploded with the incident trending online on Monday evening and on Tuesday, with comments overwhelmingly supportive of the PRC diplomats. Sweden announced this week that it would be banning Huawei and ZTE from its telecom 5G system, citing national security concerns. In a statement, the head of Sweden's security services, Claes Freiberg, said, quote, China is one of the biggest threats to Sweden, involved in extensive intelligence gathering and theft of technology, research and development. This is what we must consider when building the 5G network of the future, end quote. The Chinese embassy in Sweden responded with their own statement, quote, over the years, Huawei, ZTE, and other Chinese companies have been actively promoting information and communications cooperation between China and Sweden and have been making positive contributions to infrastructure development in Sweden. They never posed any threat to Sweden's national security, end quote. Okay guys, that is our midweek, shorter mini update of China update. I'll have a proper larger update for you guys at the end of the week. We'll probably go up Friday or Saturday depending on where you are. Put your comments below. I look forward to talking to you guys as always. I hope you enjoyed the video this week. As always, wherever you are, I hope you're staying safe and staying sane. I will see you guys all next time on China Update.